never too late. Cardinal virtues lead to life. And third, extending peace. So first, it's never too late. Our first reading is all about the prophet Ezekiel we heard. It's all about the fact that you have one man or one woman who's going this way, who has really bad behavior, who's not following God's way, not following the virtues, who we would say like, that person, they are bad. And the whole reading is saying they turn around. They were going this way, away from God, and now they turned away and started walking toward God with him. And I think, boys and girls, sometimes we can think, well, man, I don't think there's a Fred here. Like, that's Fred. Or that's Susie. I don't think there's a Susie either. Fred, Susie, they're bad. They're bad at recess. They're bad in the classroom. Like, bad at home. Maybe act up. They're kind of starting fights. And we can think, well, that's kind of just the way he is or she is. Or if it's like, that's just the way I am. I struggle with this and The reading says, if the wicked man or wicked girl turns away from all sins they have committed and starts doing what is right and just, they will have life. Boys and girls, it's so important for us to never forget that fact, that reality. And not only that, not only can bad behavior change, but it also says they shall live and all of the wrong will be forgotten. It's like they become a new person. They become a new way where then all of a sudden maybe it's like, man, Fred, he's good. Susie, they're good. And you don't even, the wrong ways are even forgotten. That's really good news. And that's possible because of Jesus. Now, leads to the cardinal virtues. I was walking in the hallways yesterday, and I think it was Gavin that came up to me and that started asking me about the virtues. And I stopped into the classroom after because he said they were going over the cardinal virtues. Can someone raise their hand here and tell me what the 4 cardinal virtues are? I see kindergartners raising their hands, but I don't know if you can tell me the 4 cardinal virtues. Kind of want to ask the 8th graders if they know the 4 cardinal virtues. Well, let's ask them over here. 4 cardinal virtues. Let's go, Sloan. You're halfway up. Let's see. Try it. Go, Sloan. Prudence and fortitude, right? So courage, fortitude, temperance. What else did you say? Prudence and justice. Very good. So those are the 4 cardinal virtues. And boys and girls, the readings say, it says, when someone virtuous turns away from virtue, that's kind of the hinge. Or if one who is away from virtue turns towards it, it's saying the cardinal virtues, those things lead to life. And again, what the word cardinal means, it means like it's a door that's on a hinge. You guys ever open a door that maybe didn't sound good, it creaked, or it made noises, or maybe it didn't even open because the hinges were off. These 4 cardinal virtues are like the hinges in our life. And when we are boys and girls of fortitude, we're boys and girls of prudence, meaning we know what is right. If we're boys and girls of temperance, meaning we don't just do whatever we feel like in the moment, but we actually control our passions. Those are all things, boys and girls, that point to life. They give us life. They lead to flourishment, okay? Especially as we get older and older. And then lastly, boys and girls, Our gospel talks about extending peace and the importance of extending peace. So, it doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're old as Father Mark or you're as young as our kindergartners over there. Sometimes we can have rifts, we can have disagreements with our classmates, right? Or our brothers and sisters. Things happen over the course of the day, over the course of the week, where it's like, man, I've got a rift, I've got a disagreement, we're kind of butting heads here. The gospel talks about just that today, and the importance of extending peace. When we have maybe bad feelings, or even more so, hatred in our hearts towards somebody, the gospel even says, before you even come up to the altar, before you maybe come to communion, it's important to get rid of that hatred in our hearts and extend peace. Boys and girls, there's a part of Mass, actually. What do we do before we receive the Eucharist? We say, extend peace. And you all look at each other, right, and say, peace be with you. That's like we want to think of that sometimes. And maybe it's not the person that's sitting next to us, but it's more important, maybe someone that's in our mind that's like, you know what? They're not sitting next to me right now. Maybe they're not even in this church right now. But they did something to me where I have a tendency to think bad about that person or maybe even hate them. Lord, help me extend peace to them before I come up and receive communion. Because as the Lord says, at the end, if we don't do that, boys and girls, it'll be as if we're locking ourselves up in a prison. And boys and girls, sometimes there are people who are even start out your age and grow up the rest of their life and they're 80 years old and they're living as if like they're in a prison because they still have hatred in their hearts for someone. And the Lord says, unless that comes out, unless we extend peace, it'll be like we're kind of just trapping ourselves in a prison. So boys and girls, let us hear those words of Jesus today, to take them to heart, to extend peace in our hearts as we get older, to always be quick to settle quickly, the Lord says in the gospel, to extend peace. And for us boys and girls to remember that it's never too late to change. It's never too late to turn back to the Lord, and the importance of growing in the cardinal virtues to help us have life and peace in our hearts.